Hello chess lovers, let's have a look at a game played by Vladimir, Kramnik and Anish Giri. The game was played at Altibox Norway Chess 2017 in round 9. Kramnik started with knight f3, d5 by Giri, d4, knight f6, e3, e6, bishop d3, c5, white castles. It seems like Kramnik goes for the so-called Kohle-Zuckertort system, by playing b3, fianchettoing the bishop, placing the knight on d2 and then preparing e4. But Giri responded very aggressively and played c4. Bishop retreats back and now b5. b3, bishop b7, knight c3. After the game, during the analysis, Anish Giri said that he thought that knight c3 is dubious and decided to punish Kramnik for that, and he went for b4. Knight a4 and now c3, giving no air white pieces to breathe. Look at this knight and especially this bishop stuck on c1. Knight e5, bishop d6, a3, trying to destroy this pawn chain, a5, bishop b5 check, and king f8. This is just a forced move. If you play a move like knight d7, then black is facing a lot of problems after knight c5. If bishop takes c5, then knight takes d7, knight takes d7. This is a forced line, d takes c5, queen c7. The threat was c6. Queen c7, a takes b4, a takes b4, rook takes a8 check, bishop takes a8, queen d4, black castles, bishop takes d7, queen takes d7, and simply queen takes b4, and black is also losing the pawn on c3, and this is losing for black. Let's go back. After bishop b5 check, we see this king f8 move, knight c5, queen b6, knight takes b7, queen takes b7, queen e2, and now it's very difficult to find a good move. Anish Giri played g6, which weakens the dark squares. Well, a better move is king e7 followed by rook d8. If e4, then bishop c7. This continuation would have been better for black. But after g6, we can see that black is facing a lot of problems. Now comes e4, knight takes e4 and bishop h6 check. White is starting to use the weakness of the dark squares. King e7, well, if king g8, then here is a very beautiful line starting with knight g4. Now the threat is queen takes e4 and then checkmate on f6. Bishop e7 covering the f6 square, a takes b4, a takes b4, rook takes a8, queen takes a8, f3, knight d6, queen e5, threatening checkmate on g7, knight f5, and now another amazing move by white, queen f6. Well, if bishop takes f6, then here is a beautiful checkmate. If queen b7, then bishop e8 is very strong, and this is losing for black. Let's go back. After bishop h6 check, that's why we see king e7, f3. Giri played knight d2, but retreating back would have been better. If rook e1, now the threat is knight takes f7, then bishop takes e5, and now white can't capture on e5 with the queen because the bishop on b5 is hanging. So d takes e5, knight d7, a takes b4, a takes b4, rook takes a8, queen takes a8, queen f2. Though of course this is also a winning position for white, a very unpleasant position for black. Let's go back. We see knight d2 in the game, rook e1, and now if bishop takes e5, then white can simply capture on e5 with a queen, because in this case the knight is not on f6 and the rook is hanging. If queen takes b5, then simply queen takes h8. After rook fe1, we see king d8, but after bishop f4, Anish Giri resigned. Well, now the threat is knight takes f7 check and then bishop takes d6. Well, if bishop f8, then bishop g5 check, king c8, bishop f6, rook g8, and now bishop e8 attacking the pawn on f7. This is just a lost position for black. That's why after bishop f4, as I have already mentioned, Giri resigned. Your comments and questions please, and thanks for watching. Good luck.